In preparation for the unit test tomorrow, let's look at a few questions that will be on the test, like the ones that are on the test. Number 1 says to write the equation represented by the graph. The first thing we need to identify is where does the graph cross the y-axis. It crosses the y-axis at 3, so our b, or our y-intercept, is 3. Our slope, we have to count from one crosshair to the next. We're going down 2 and 3, 4, down 4 to the right 2, and negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. So we take these two numbers and plug them into y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope and b is your y-intercept, and that is your equation. Number 2 crosses the graph at negative 1, so our b is negative 1. And we're going up 1 and to the right 3. So our slope is 1 over 3, which gives us an equation of y equals 1/3 x minus 1. So that is all you have to do to identify equations from a graph. Number 3 says to identify each equation as linear or nonlinear. If x has an exponent greater than 1, if it is in the denominator, or if it is in a square root symbol, then it is not a linear function. So our first one is linear. Our next one has x squared, so that is nonlinear. Our third one, x is in a square root or a radical sign, so that is also nonlinear. For the next one, x is in the denominator, which means I can plug in any number for x. But if I plug in 0 for x, I cannot divide 5 by 0, so that is nonlinear. 8x to the 4th power, it cannot be to the 4th power, so that is nonlinear. Even though we have decimals, our x is to a power of 1, so it is a linear function. For our next one, we have x squared plus 5. Our exponent is bigger than 1, so it is nonlinear. And then we have the cube root of x, and we cannot have it in a radical sign, so it is nonlinear. Number 4, identify each equation as either linear or nonlinear. We're looking at the rate of change to see if we have a constant rate of change. So, what do I do to 1 to get to 2? I add 1. What do I do to 2 to get to 3? I add 1. What do I do to 3 to get to 4? I add 1. To get from negative 3 to negative 6, I subtract 3. Negative 6 minus 3 is negative 9. Negative 9 minus 3 is negative 12. So this is a linear function. For the next one, negative 2 plus 2 gives me 0. 0 plus 2 gives me 2. 2 plus 2 gives me 4. When I look at my y's, 8 minus 6 is 2, but 2 minus 6 is not 1/2, so that is not a linear function. That is nonlinear. All right, look at the next set of tables to determine whether they're linear or nonlinear. We look at our pattern. We go from negative 3 to negative 2. We add 1. Negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1. Negative 1 plus 1 is 0. To go from negative 9 to negative 3, we add 6. Negative 3 plus 3 is 3. 3 plus 6 is 9, so that is linear. And the next one, we add 6 to negative 6 to get 0. Add 6 to get 6. Add 6 to get 12. 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 plus 3 is not 9, so that is nonlinear. Negative 1 plus 1 is 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. To go from negative 3 to 1, we add 4. 1 plus 4 is 5. 5 plus 4 is 9. So that is a linear function. Remember, while I'm working these out, you need to be pausing the video, trying them for yourself to make sure you understand how to work out these problems. Negative 5 plus 5 is 0. 0 plus 5 is 5. 5 plus 5 is 10. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 2 is not 9, so that is nonlinear. 5 plus 2 is 7. 7 plus 2 is 9. 9 plus 2 is 11. So we look at the change in our y values. To go from negative 6 to negative 4, we add 2. Negative 4 plus 2 is negative 2. Negative 2 plus 2 is 0, so this is a linear function. In our last table, we have 6 minus 2 gives us 4. 4 minus 1 gives us 3. Even though these are different, I'm going to keep going to make sure I don't get the same rate of change in the y's. 3 minus 1 is 2. 1 plus 4 is 5. 5 plus 4 is 9. This 4 over negative 2 and 4 over negative 1 are going to give me two different answers, so that is not a linear function. Our next question says that we need to use the points to determine the equation of the line. The very first thing that I do is determine what is my slope. We have 8 minus 4, remember this is y minus y, over x minus x. 8 minus 4 is 4. Negative 6 minus negative 2, we have to do the additive inverse, gives us negative 4. And when I simplify this, that gives me negative 1. I plug my slope and my ordered pair into y equals mx plus b to solve for my b. It does not matter which point you pick, as long as you put the y where the y goes, the m where the m goes, x you plug in for x, and we're solving for our b. Negative 1 times negative 2 is positive 2. Bring everything else down. To get b by itself, I subtract 2 from both sides, and my b is positive 2. So my equation is y equals negative x plus 2. For number 6, use the point 0, 0, and 4, 6 to determine the equation of the line. Subtract your y's over your x's. That gives me 6 over 4, which simplifies to 3 halves. If my point, one of my points has 0 for an x, then whatever that y is, that is your b. Because your b is your y-intercept, where the graph crosses the y-axis, and x is 1. I'm sorry, x is 0. So my equation is going to be y equals 3 halves x. Since it crosses through the origin, I don't add anything to it, because adding 0 to something is just going to leave you with your original number. For number 7, I already have my slope, so I'm just going to plug these 3 numbers into y equals mx plus b. My y is my second number, that's negative 3. My slope is negative 2. My x is 4. I multiply negative 2 times 4, which is negative 8. Bring everything else down. To get b by itself, I have to do the inverse operation of negative 8, which would be adding 8. Negative 3 plus 8, these are different signs, so I subtract and keep the sign of the highest number. That will be 5. So my equation is y equals negative 2x plus 5. For number 7, we're already given the slope, and we are given an ordered pair that is found on this graph. So we plug these 3 numbers into y equals mx plus b, where our y is negative 2, our slope is 1 half, our x is 6, and half of 6 is 3, so I bring everything else down. I subtract 3 from both sides, and I find that this graph crosses the y-axis at negative 5. So my equation is y equals 1 half x minus 5. Let's look at number 9. You are considering becoming a member of an online video game club where you pay a discounted price to download video games online on a monthly basis. Game World offers a membership for $15 per month and 50 cents per downloaded game. So the equation for that is y equals 50 cents per download plus the $15 fee. GameGo's membership is represented by Y equals $1.25 per download plus a $5 fee, where X represents the number of downloads and Y is the total cost. The membership plan for gamers is shown in the graph below. Which video game club charges the least for each download? So if we're looking at the one that charges the least per download, we're looking at our slope. For our first one, our Game World, they charge 50 cents per download, which is cheaper than GameGo's cost of $1.25. So far, Game World is winning. At our gamers graph, we are going up 20 to the right 10, so that's 20 over 10, which comes out to be 2 for our slope, or $2 per download. So Game World is the cheapest per download. Now we need to determine which game club is the best choice for someone who never downloads more than 10 videos each month. So what we're going to do is plug in 10. For gamers, the cost would be $20. For Game World, we're going to do 50 cents times 10 plus 15. That is going to be 5 plus 15, which is also $20. And then for $1.25 times 10 plus 15, that's $12.50 plus 5. I apologize, that's 5. That comes out to be $17.50. So if you are not doing any more than 10, then GameGo is the best option for you. Look at number 10. Number 10 asks us to determine the unit rate. Unit rate is just the slope. It's the rate of change. It's the rate at which your rides overrun how fast your graph is going. So to do this, we do 9 minus 450 over 10 minus 5, which is 450 over 5. And when I divide that to find how much, this is how much it costs for 5 boxes. When I divide that, I get that it will be 90 cents per box. And of course you can graph that by going to the right 5 and up 4.5, going over 9 and up 10, so on and so forth. And our last question, we are to find the unit rates. The unit cost per pound. If unit cost, unit rate is the same thing as our slope, and our equation is y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope, then for French fries, that's represented by y equals 83 hundredths x, 83 cents per pound is the cost of fries. Please make sure to study the cumulative review, and your test will be tomorrow.